Hello, I'm Carrie, and welcome to the Sego Fibers podcast. Hi, welcome and welcome back. I hope you're doing well. This morning was very fun because my husband Nathan works from home today, and so on days he works from home, we drop the kids off at school, and then there's a coffee shop right around the corner, and we've taken to going there and grabbing a coffee and playing a game of chess, and that has been so fun. It's really hard for us to get to do date night sometimes, or at least regularly, and this is like, I don't know, a fun way to spend time together. Nathan has been playing chess for at least a few years. He's been reading a lot about it and learning and all these things, but I've only recently started playing, like within the past month or two. So I'm very much not experienced, but it's still really fun, and I feel like I'm learning a lot, and a lot of it is just a practice of seeing and learning how to see. Because there's so many different options, and like even aside from strategy, just being able to see like, okay, what can each piece do on the board? There's a lot going on, so can you see all the things going on? And so it's funny because a lot of it reminds me of going to art school, because I remember in the first year in our drawing class, a lot of it was like learning to see shapes and shadows and contours and all these things. And so I remember my professor being like, okay, I'm gonna give you this assignment and I expect you to spend 3 hours on it, and I will know if you do or not. And so it's just like, oh wow, okay, learning to see more deeply, more clearly. It feels very similar to chess. Just like, okay, here's all these pieces, what can they do? And anyway, it's been a lot of fun. My husband isn't very competitive. I mean, like when he's playing a game for real, he wants to do well, but he's also very interested in helping me learn and get better. So it feels very friendly and helpful. And it's not like, oh, it's not like us against each other. It's more of like, okay, if I feel stuck, I'll say like, hey, I can see these options. What do you see? And he'll say, okay, I see 3 good moves and like a bunch of bad moves. Anyway, that has been really fun. So we did that this morning. It's a nice local place called Hidden Peaks. So if you're ever in Salt Lake, it's fun. It's nice and chill. Lots of friendly people. They have a chessboard there with pieces, so you don't have to bring anything. So anyway, that was a nice start to the morning. And yeah, got home, tidied up a little bit, and then thought I would sit down with some knitting for a podcast. So that would be fun. Originally, I was going to go climbing today, but I think I broke my tailbone on a few days ago, so climbing might be out for a little bit. Hopefully not too long. First, let's talk about this finished object. I know I talked about it last time. This is the Handwork Cardigan by Tayler Harris. It was a special custom design for Handwork, the yarn store, one of my local yarn stores here in Salt Lake City, and they just celebrated their 1-year anniversary, and Tayler Harris works there, as well as like being an amazing pattern designer. So she designed this beautiful cardigan to celebrate, and it is now available on Ravelry. Anybody can buy it. You don't have to go to the yarn store. And yeah, I love it so much. I got these beautiful buttons. I got 3 buttons from Hall & Hoof Farms. So they're handmade ceramic buttons, hand painted, and they look like these really adorable quilt stars. I really love them. I think they really make it a special and unique cardigan. I love the design. There's these nice big pockets. You just patch pockets, you stick them on at the end. Yeah, so let's talk about some of the details. So the yarn I used is Rerum Natura Gilliatt in the color Darjeeling. It works up like a worsted weight, but it has the yardage of a DK, which is fantastic. I got this at Handwork. It's super bouncy. I don't know if you'll see that, but it's like there's a lot of stretch, which it's really delightful to work with. It feels really nice. It's very soft. Yeah, I love this color. I was going for like a dark ochre kind of color, and yeah, I'm really happy with it. I made the size 2. I used 6 balls of that, and I'm kind of surprised because at least size 2 and 3 each call for 6 balls, but I only have this much. I'm not exactly how sure like how many grams is left, but this is the difference between a size 2 and 3. I don't know. It could be that like this is not the yarn called for in the pattern. It called for WoolDreamers Moda. And so it's possible that like it's the kind of pattern where it says knit this many inches and then do the next thing. It's possible that maybe this one was a bit more scrunched up and therefore used more yarn for that. So who knows? But 6 balls was definitely enough to make the size 2. Honestly, this really grew when I blocked it, and so maybe I should have made the size 1, but that's okay. It's intended to be oversized. It's very cozy. It's very nice and warm without being too hot. So I think it actually looks really cute with jeans. Like this outfit I actually rather like. I'll try and put some B-roll of like a better view because I'm really scrunched up here, but I actually think it's nice open, looks really relaxed. I love the pockets, that'll be super useful. Yeah, and the waffle stitch is super cozy, which I love. Yeah, I'm really happy with this. We're going on a trip for Thanksgiving up to Washington State, and I just like really envision bringing this with me and being like, oh, it's the perfect Thanksgiving cardigan. So cozy, super happy with it. Yeah, I'm just really enjoying it. Talking about trips, right after, like the weekend after I filmed my last podcast, I went up to Park City for a women's retreat with my church, and it was really nice in the sense of like I had a room to myself. I had been feeling kind of like overwhelmed, kind of stressed, and so I was like, okay, this is a nice time to chill. It's 2 nights, so in a full day and 2 half days. Really beautiful like fall weather, and Park City is gorgeous. It's a mountain town, it's a resort kind of a thing, so it's just really beautiful. Unfortunately, we had rain the whole weekend. So I had been planning on like maybe going on a hike or just like enjoying the like peak fall colors up there, and I was like, oh, all of the whole drive up, like the whole time there, like it was all rainy. So I was like, well, okay, cozy indoor. But I did get to cast on a special new pattern that I had been saving for this fall, and it uses yarn from Sego Fibers. There we go. And the dyer behind this her name is Jess, and she lives up in Pocatello, Idaho. And I met her at Great Basin Fiber Arts Fair this year in April, and she was so nice. I was vending at my first yarn event. I dye yarn also, and this was my first time. It's like 2005 was kind of like my brand of Sego Fibers kind of launching. And so this was my first big fiber festival. So I got there and it's just like, what do I do? Am I supposed to check in with somebody? Do I just start setting up? What do I do? And anyway, I saw Jess kind of like across the aisle from me and she looked nice. And so I was like, hi, I'm new. What do I do? And anyway, she was super helpful and friendly and we kind of walked around together later. And I wanted some of her yarn. Oh, not right then. I bought some, or we traded for some fiber at that point, which I'm also very excited about. I have not spun it yet, but I'm getting there. But later, during the summer, she had a trunk show at Handwork, and so I wanted to go there to support her for that. And while there, she had a bunch of beautiful samples, and she had the Andrea Mowry cowl, like, I forget what it's called. It's like, it's not night lights, because I think that's the shawl, but the cowl version with the same stitch pattern. And she had a few of those in beautiful colors. I loved them. And there were these two colors, and I just loved how fall they were. This is her Woolen DK. I think that's what she calls it. Yeah, Woolen DK. And it's woolen spun Patagonian woolen merino. I think it's a Patagonia merino, something like that. 270 yards per 100 grams. And this is the color Bewitched, and this is Clove. And I just thought those felt so autumnal. And as soon as I saw her samples, I thought to myself, like, oh, I love how that stitch pattern looks in her yarn. Like, it looks really great. Like when the pattern for the Nightlight kind of stitch pattern series came out, I was like, neither here nor there. But as soon as I saw it in her colors, I was like, oh, yes, I definitely want to make that. That looks fun. And so she had made the cowls, but I really wanted to make the shawl because that would be more wearable for me, I think. And I knew that like 2 skeins of DK gets me like a shawl size that I really enjoy wearing. And so I was like, okay, so even if it's not, if I get 2 skeins of DK, it's not enough yardage to make Andrea Mowry's size. But like the shawl shape is kind of like the Sophie shawl shape, where it's like really long and it tapers at each end and then kind of dips down in the middle. It's not like a deep triangle. And it struck me as the sort of pattern where you weigh your yarn, you kind of knit up half of it, and then you start decreasing just whenever you have, your yarn tells you to, whenever you get to the halfway point. And so I figured, that'll be fine. I'll just do that. So I got 1 skein of each of those colors, and I finished it. I cast it on at the retreat in Park City. The fire going, was super cozy. It was really nice. And so here's the shawl. I wanted to be really careful with yardage. My intention was to start decreasing when I had like 1 or 2 grams more than halfway, like 51 or 52 grams left. That's when I would start decreasing. However, the stitch pattern is a 16-row repeat. And so it's like, well, it was hard to get it precise. So I think I ended up starting the decreases at like 54 grams left, which is a little bit extra. So clearly I didn't use all of it. It was just harder because of the row counts. When I first opened the pattern, I have to admit, I was a bit surprised at how involved it looked. I was expecting it to be a lot more simple, kind of like the Sophie shawl. And I had to restart this pattern like 2 or 3 times. It didn't immediately click with how my brain worked. I'm used, like at this point in my knitting, I am so much more used to, okay, do this and then at the same time do this and at the same time do this. Like that works really well for how I think, because it kind of sets up a system. And so whenever I come up to something where I have a question, it's like, oh, this thing is happening. What do I do? Oh yeah, for this situation, I do this thing. And then I come up to a new situation where I have to solve a problem. It's like, oh yeah, for this problem, I solve it with this. And so it's like, it's more systematic, I guess, if that works well. And I can read my knitting. And so it's like, oh, it just makes it simpler. What she had everything written line by line, and I couldn't figure out the logic for it. And it's like, what's the system here? Like, what am I trying to do when I reach a certain point? And when things are line by line, like, of course you can do it because you just like read the pattern and it tells you exactly what to do. And so of course you can clearly do it. But my goal usually with knitting is to not have to look at the pattern very much, or like just to like enough to get the system understood. And then I just like forget about it and fly until I reach the next milestone. And I was really hoping to do that with this project, because I don't expect a shawl to be terribly involved unless there's like a lot of clear things going on or a lot of change. And so I was like, oh, I was feeling really disappointed at the beginning. It's like, okay, so like the first chunk at the beginning, these are like setup rows. Fine, I understand. You have to get the pattern started and set up before you can create a system. That's normal, that's fine. And so I did that, and then I was reading through the 16 row repeat. I think it's 16, something like that. And I was like, wow, I don't think I can memorize 16 rows. That's a bit much for me. So I was like, okay, maybe if I just work it once all the way through, then I will get it. And each of these stripes is 4 rows. And so a 16 row repeat is like, I think I my first color was that one. So like that's the 16 row repeat. And it was like, okay, if I work that much, I should be able to get it. I should see the system. I should be able to like get the logic and kind of move on for the rest. But because it was, I don't know, I didn't get the system right away. It was too like individual line centric. And so I was like, oh no, I am not getting this at all. Like it's not, I don't even feel progress with understanding this. So, and then I was also thinking like, would it just be simpler? Like these are slip stitches. I wonder, the long ones are. And I wonder if like, you could get this, I wonder if I could simplify this and just do like stripes, increase at the same rate as she does, but do the I-cord edge, increase at her same rate. Those are simple systems I can understand. And then whenever it's time for one of these long stitches to like just do a dip stitch and like just kind of like, bloop, forget the slip stitch thing, whatever, just dip down and pull the yarn through one of the lower rows. And would that be simpler? Then that simplifies everything. I don't have to worry about it. And so I ripped back, I tried that way, and I was really surprised at how bad it looked. And so when I did the dip stitch, it was so much of a flatter texture, and these here, and these like the long stitches really splayed open a lot, and you could, it looked more like that, and it was really flat. Like these, I feel like have some dimension where they're sitting out on top of the fabric, whereas the dip stitch is like really mushed, I guess, and it did not look good, and I was very surprised by that. It's like, oh, maybe she swatched, Andrea Mowry swatched that, realized it didn't look good, and then decided to do a slip stitch, or maybe she just started with this anyway. But there's a reason it's a slip stitch, because it looks a lot better than a dip stitch. And so I was like, okay, well, clearly this isn't going to work. So I ripped back again and said, okay, start over. Let's try it again. Give my brain another chance to kind of understand her system, look at the logic, see if I can find something to make sense of there. And so I did the setup rows, and then I worked through the 16 row repeat again. And this time I tried to kind of filter out the unnecessary stuff. So like the slip stitches are their own system. So it's kind of like knit 3, slip, whatever. that makes sense. There's a right side version and a wrong side version, way to make sense of that. Okay, chunk, that's its own box. The I-cord edge and I-cord edge, you always do the same thing. Chunk, that's its own thing. Great. And then for the increases, that's where it got interesting, because you don't always increase the same way along, where is it? Which is the straight edge and which is there? Okay, there it is. So this side is the increase side, and the other side doesn't increase or decrease. It just stays straight. So basically, you increase once per color stripe, and the first stripe you do a certain kind of increase, and it looks one way. The second stripe looks a different way, and then the next two are similar but not quite the same. And so it's like, okay, so there's 4 different ways to increase, and you always know which one to do based on if you're 1, 2, 3, or 4. Okay, I can remember a series of 4. It's essentially a 4-stripe repeat. Okay, that I can memorize. I can do that. And that's a lot better than 16 things to remember. And so once I realized that's all the difference was there's 4 different increases, and then when you're decreasing, 4 different decreases. Everything else standard. And so, oh, okay, it's reduced to a series of 4. I can do that. Once I figured that out, it felt so much better, and I really could just set the pattern away, and I didn't have to look at it until weighing my yarn told me to start the next half of the shawl. And so I was really happy to discover that, to kind of like work through the pattern into such a way that like my brain can understand. That way I wouldn't have to be glued to the paper, because I don't find that very fun. But yeah, so I love it. It is smaller than the original. Oh, here, let me take this off. This will look a little bit better. It's smaller than her original sample, but I really like the size. It's super useful. It's really cute. I love that you can get it all poofy, like the volume is at the neck where you want it to be. And then the volume is not down here where it goes under your coat. And so where it sits here and it hangs down like to my pant line, and so it's like not too long, it's not in the way, it's minimal, and yet still warm and cozy. I'm really happy with it. I really love the shape. I love the size. This is just great for just wearing under a coat, wearing out, going for a walk. It feels very useful and versatile, and like in some ways it's a lot more practical for me than like a really big triangular shawl where it like takes up your whole front with volume. This, you can still see your outfit. It's not in the way, it doesn't feel bulky or heavy. Yeah, I'm really happy with how this came out. I love the colors, they feel very fall and like festive fall Thanksgiving to me. It's like very warm. Yeah, I'm really happy with how it came out. I would make it again now that I figured out the kind of like increase and decrease repeat for it, and it's like I have the system now. It's actually quite enjoyable to knit, and I really do enjoy it. I really enjoyed knitting this once I got past that first stumbling area. But yeah, this was really good. I love the size. 2 skeins of DK, I think you're fine to make, even if it's not one of the longer, like because this yarn was woolen spun, it has a bit more yardage. Even if you don't use a woolen spun one and you have normal yardage, I think I only used like 240 or so yards of each skein, and that's a very standard amount. So I think any 2 skeins of DK you could stash bust. It's great. I highly recommend that pattern. And the yarn too, it feels really nice. So after I got back from the retreat, we had like a week or 2 of normal life, and then we had another like couple weeks of family and adventure and all sorts of things. So we went up to the Tetons, Teton National Park up in Wyoming, Idaho area. And we stayed at a beautiful Airbnb with my parents. It was so pretty. It was a house, like an old farmhouse situated like in fields, very rural, and it had been remodeled with like very like neutral and tasteful kind of decor. Like I would totally live there if it was at all practical. It was amazing. It had a fireplace. It was so pretty. All the finishings were great. The lights were really cool. Just like, it was great. But the best part was the view. And from like the kitchen eating area, and they had this kind of sunroom, you could see the Tetons. Like the Tetons are very particular, like the grand peaks. They're very jaggedy. And so you've got this mountain range, kind of like, you know, normal pretty mountains. And then out in the middle, you could go bam, bam, bam. Some like, they look like sawtooth kind of mountains where they're like just really majestic and grand looking. They had snow and it was just so pretty. Like we've stayed at several different like rural locations, like cabins and whatever places out in the West, and this was the first time where like my soul really connected with the location. It was just like, there is peace here. I could stay here. This is perfectly situated. The balance of open space, fields, trees, mountains, like it was just like the perfect setting. It's like, okay, can my soul just stay here for a while? Like this is where I want to go for like peace and restoration. Like this is the perfect combination of nature. And so yeah, that was a total treat to stay there. It was a pretty short trip, but it was really nice. I had nice chats with my mom sitting in the living room, and we brought a chessboard with us. We just got one, which I'm excited about. And so I can't remember exactly how it went, but either Nathan and my dad started playing, or maybe Nathan was bringing some pieces out to kind of show my son Ethan, who's 6. And anyway, it turned into this thing where my dad is teaching my son how to play chess, and like that was going really well, and it was really cool. And like Ethan's interested in it, and like just he's engaging with the idea, which is neat. And my dad's really good with kids. He's like not competitive either, and he's much more interested in teaching and asking questions. And so it was a really cool dynamic to see, kind of like you want to encourage and teach, but not like crush with all of the information. And so it's like, it worked out really well. So that was a cool thing going on. Yeah, it was just a nice time with my mom, and it was just neat to see. And then the next day, our full day, we got to drive into Teton National Park, and it's closed for the season. So like the boat that goes across Jenny Lake wasn't running. So we couldn't get to like all the really cool hiking places. It was too late in the year for that. You can see a lot of really awesome things from the park just driving around. And it's a unique park, like different from Yellowstone in the sense like just driving around, you get really good views of the mountains because you're like far enough back, but you're not so far that you can't see anything. There's not stuff blocking your way. But you get really good views of the mountains from different angles. And I really appreciated that this time. It was really, really pretty. And we had a picnic next to Jenny Lake, and it was just really pretty. And on the way back, we went through Jackson, Wyoming, and that's another kind of mountain resort town. And they have all kinds of shops and restaurants and cute buildings and like all these things. And so we even found a playground for the kids to play on. And my mom and I walked over from the playground to the local yarn store, and my mom was such a trooper. I thought I was being so good, and so I was like, hey mom, you want to go with me to the yarn store? And she's like, sure. And I thought I was being good because I had a plan, which, you know, sounds good. So I was thinking, okay, I'm going to limit myself. I am looking for commercial color changing sock yarn. I'm gonna get one skein. okay, that narrows things down. That's really good, right? And surely like they would have something like Sour Ball or something similar, maybe something like self-striping yarn, just something in that ballpark is what I was looking for. And yeah, they did have some. And I came across, they had like some, I forget what the brand was. They had some self-striping. They were really bright colors, which I wasn't quite in the mood for. I was feeling a little bit more fall and moody. And then I came across Queensland Collection Perth yarn. It's an Australian superwash wool blend. It kind of like barber poles, changes color, kind of like Sauber Ball or Spin Cycle. Anyway, so this is the yarn. And I am embarrassed to tell you how long it took me to pick a skein. It's ridiculous. I felt so bad for my mom. I was just like, she was trying to be so nice and helpful, and she was. And she was so patient. And here I am thinking, this isn't supposed to be happening. I had a plan. My plan was supposed to keep me from like being in a quagmire. But they had so many colors, and each colorway was like, you would have look at 3 balls of the same colorway and they'd be so different because of how they were plied together. Like the colors would kind of line up differently. And so this color is called Alice Springs. And I think most of the red has been used up at this point, but like it has just red and brown and blue. That's mostly the vibe, some like tans in there. And it felt kind of like moody and fall to me, and it seemed nice and cozy, but I could not decide. And so, but thankfully, eventually I did decide. So thank you, Mom. I know you watch this. Thank you for your patience. And I wanted to cast this on right away as kind of like a fun, kind of like engage the trip, work on it, that sort of thing. And these are going to look ridiculous because they're ribbed socks, and ribbed socks look silly. But I finished a pair of socks. This is the DRK Everyday Sock. Wow, this is an Andrea Mowry heavy episode. And I had started a pair of these a long time ago. They're actually still in existence. I just pulled the needles out. They're just hiding in a bag somewhere. But I lost steam on those because I felt very insecure about how long to make the foot. I really struggle with making toe-up socks because in the past, like that's how I started making socks, because I thought it sounded super cool, and I love the fact that you don't have to be afraid of how much yarn you have. You can just use up what you have. But what I would do, oh man, I am not wearing hand-knit socks right now. Okay, so I would knit the toe and the foot, and I would get to here, guess at how long to make the foot, do the whole gusset and the heel, and then try it on. And almost always it was like too long or too short, and I would have to undo the heel, undo the gusset, like, and like afterthought and short row heels don't work for me because I have a high instep, so I have to do a gusset or a fleegle heel or something. But again, that's a lot of knitting to do all that. And then I learned if I do cuff down, like it doesn't matter. Like this is great. Like nothing can go wrong with however long you make your leg. You do your heel flap and gusset, and then you can easily try it on as you go until you get to the toe. And if it's like, if you make the toe and it's like too long or too short, it's very little knitting to rip back. Or you could just make your toe longer or shorter. Like there's a lot of easier options for fixing that. So I usually prefer cuff down now. But I've heard so many good things about the DRK Everyday Socks. Whenever the Bear Paw socks came out, which is the DK weight version of that pattern, I bought that and I knit a pair of those socks for my husband. So I was like, oh, DK weight socks for gift knitting, that sounds great. But I was measuring very carefully, and I still made it way too long. I found them really difficult to measure, so that like decreased my confidence for this pattern, because it's like, oh, I always get it wrong. I have to redo it and fix it. But I really wanted to, I feel like if you can get this pattern, it makes great gift knits. So I was kind of motivated to see if I could do it. So like, okay, I will try. And if it goes wrong, oh well, I'll be prepared to fix it. And so I figured out kind of like how long to knit my foot before I need to start the heel, like the fleecle heel with the gusset and everything. Because you do like all these increases here. So you have to figure out when to start those. And thankfully the pattern says like stop the foot when you're this far away, like from the end of your foot. So there's like, for my size, I think it was like 3 1/4 inches. That I could be wrong, but it was something to that effect. And so it's like, okay, well, I'll take the length of my total foot and subtract that number, whatever she said. And then that's when I will start the gusset increases and everything. And it worked. I was so impressed, surprised, and happy that it actually worked. I trusted it. I tried to measure very carefully without stretching, and it actually did work. And I can see how there is enough flexibility built into the pattern to kind of like fudge it. So if you're like a couple rows one way or the other, it really shouldn't matter. So that was nice. And I actually made a pair of socks. So they look really silly. I'll put some B-roll in of me wearing them so that they look a little less silly and more like a normal sock. But I thought it was really fun. Sorry, I have been wearing these, so they are not the cleanest. But I'm really happy with how they came out. And I think it's funny how, like, I like that they both start with red in them at the toes, but the rest of them are kind of inverted. It's kind of funny. But I like that they don't match exactly. I think they feel very kind of homespun, homemade, and cozy, and I really like that. And so I was working on that pair of socks through like the Tetons trip, and then immediately coming home from the Tetons, my parents took me and Nathan to the airport because we were flying out to Indiana for like a kind of cabin retreat thing with my brother and sister-in-law, and they were taking the kids, so this was like more of like an adult couples thing. And so it's like, okay, so I'm working on this pair of socks on the plane and like all that side, kind of on that trip. While in Indiana, we were like a hour south of Indianapolis in like the rural area out there, and all the leaves were changing color over there, and it was really pretty. I've never been to Indiana. No, I had, but just to Indianapolis for like a conference or something. So it was very much downtown, walkable experience, very different from rural, cute little town life. And we drove to Nashville for dinner, and that is such a cute town. I highly recommend it. It is so cute. So many cute shops and restaurants, and it's just beautiful to walk around. And my sister-in-law, Michelle, she is a crocheter, and one of the things we love to do whenever we get together is go to a yarn store, and we found one there called the Clay Pearl. It's a really nice yarn shop. You should check it out. But they had a local dyer there, and I think it's localish. Wild Sage Wool. Where is she from? It's a yarn collective. It sounds like Lindsay is the dyer behind that, but it's more than one person involved. And this color that I got is Spiced Heather. This is a sock yarn, and it's a blend I have never used before, which I was very excited about. This has 80% superwash mountain merino wool and 20% Firestar nylon with 450 yards. I've never used Firestar nylon. I'm not sure if you can see it, but it has these like, oh, I really hope it comes up. It has these little bits that kind of come out of the wool, and they are sparkly, but they're not like metallic gold or silver. The nylon is the sparkly part, and it takes the dye the same as the wool does, and so like the sparkles are the same color as the wool, and they change depending on whatever dye is on them. And so it's like it kind of shimmers a little bit. It's not really showing up on camera, but it's really pretty. Like these purples and pinks along with the oranges are like totally my color scheme right now. Like I feel like pink, purple, yellow, and orange all together is like, I keep being drawn back to that color palette and I'm just like all about it. But so I'm really enjoying it and it feels fall and cozy and fun and beautiful. I just love these colors so much. I want to make these a pair of socks. I want to cast them on maybe in the next couple weeks. I can't decide on a pattern for it yet though. But I have lots of, like I have the 52 weeks of socks books. And so there's like over 100 patterns there to look at. So my first step, I think, is to either look through those, see if I can find a very basic pattern. If nothing jumps out to me, I'll consider the DRK Everyday Socks again. Or there might be another Summerly Knits pattern that I might check out. So we will see, but that's the plan for that. It's fun to get a souvenir skein. And then let's see. Then after Indiana, we got back and my brother and sister-in-law stayed with us for a few days just to kind of hang out. And so that was fun, a bit more of like the family dynamic because our kids are back, or everybody's home, it's all chaos and you know, but it's good. And they could go to some of the like school events that we had going on and it was good. And then back in Salt Lake, we did a bunch of fun things. But during the time, my sister-in-law ran out of yarn for her project and she had no other yarn. So what are you gonna do? So of course we would go to Handwork and get some more yarn. We had to save her. And so she picked up a skein of Yarn Nouveau because I was telling her about Alicia and like just how nice and helpful she was. And like, anyway, Alicia's the dyer behind that and she's wonderful. And so Michelle picked up a skein of like really pretty blue yarn to make a hat. And for probably a year at least, I have been eyeing Manchelopis by WoolDreamers. It's an unspun yarn. I've also really been wanting to make a tulip sweater with it. I just think it's such a pretty pattern. I love this, how simple it is, and it has the scallops at the bottom. I think it is so pretty. And I think she originally designed it with Nutidin, maybe Plutelopi, I don't remember, but she loves unspun yarn. I have never worked with unspun yarn and I really wanted to try it. And it's nice to be able to see it and feel it in person. Several years ago, I had touched Plutelopi in person and I was like, oh, it's so rustic and itchy. I don't think I would want to knit with that. But that was also before I started acclimating to more woolly yarn. So I don't know how I would respond to it now. But anyway, I was excited to try and feel Manchelopis, and it feels really nice. It does not feel itchy. It feels soft and squishy and airy. I really like it. They have a lot of colors, but I was really drawn to, well, not like a lot of colors, but they had some colors there, but they were a bit more vibrant than what I was in the mood for, and I really like their neutrals, so I went with like a beige color. It didn't come, like I know this is Manchelopis, but like the plates of yarn don't have labels or don't come with labels. So I don't actually know what color this is. It might be like GRIS, grease, or light gray. I'm not quite sure. It looks beige to me. It has like some heathering in it, which I think is really pretty. And it's wound with 2 strands at the same time. I'll show you on this one. It's wound with two at once. And at first I was thinking I'll give it a try. I'll just unwind a bit. I might need to unwind into separate balls so I can do 1 strand at a time, which is fine. And so I swatched with that for the tulip, and it was too thin. Like it wasn't meeting gauge, and I didn't really like the look of it. And then I swatched with 2 held together, and that was too big, but I really loved the fabric. The stitches looked really nice, and I loved the fabric it made. And when I tried to size down needles holding 2 together, like it was too dense, and I did not like the fabric, and the stitches looked like not right. It was too dense. So I'm having trouble meeting gauge with a fabric that I like for the tulip, but I love the idea of the tulip, so can I find something similar? So a raglan, a very simple raglan, and then I can kind of wing the hem to still try and add the scallop edging, see if I can figure it out. So I was looking for, I think I was getting a 15 stitch gauge with the fabric that I liked holding 2 strands together. And it occurred to me, oh, you know, one pattern that's really been on my mind the last few months or whatever has been the Doppio sweater. And it's like, oh, it's so pretty. I've been wanting to knit it anyway. Let me just go look it up and see what the gauge is. And it's 15 stitches. I was like, oh, perfect. Yes. And so I checked the yardages and I had enough to make the first size, which was the size I wanted. I got 3 plates and that should be more than enough. And so that seemed really good. I may have even had enough for the first or second size, but I wanted the first size because I want my vision for this unspun sweater is to have it a bit more close fitting, fitted sleeves, not like skin tight, but like fitted, not oversized. I want more of a fitted body with like decreases and then add the scallops at the end. I don't want this to be like a very oversized sweater, and I want it to be like sitting like just below the top of high-waisted pants, so like somewhat cropped. So it's like there should be plenty of yarn because it's a very minimal sweater and not a lot of fabric. So it should be good. That's the idea. And I cast it on, and so technically I am making the Doppio, but hopefully with the feeling of the tulip sweater. And here we are so far. This is such a quick knit because of the gauge, and it's really fun. And I have to say, I am enjoying knitting with unspun yarn way more than I expected. Like, the yarn feels really nice, but I've heard so many stories about how you have to be so careful with it, or make sure you hold it with mohair for strength and so it doesn't pill. I don't know about the pilling yet. We'll find out as time goes by. But I have had no breaking. Like, it's been really great. And I think the fabric is beautiful. My stitches look a bit wonky in places, but I'm really hoping that blocking will help with that. It's just, I'm really enjoying this pattern. The pattern is so well written. I'm really enjoying making it. I would love to make this pattern again. I think it would be so much fun, and it is so versatile depending on like what yarn and yarn combinations you use. I really want to make a version that has 2 different colorways of fingering weight yarn held with a mohair. So like 3 strands. I just think you could play with color so fun with that. I think that would be really cool. So I really want to do that version. I'm really enjoying this one. I think they will come out completely different sweaters. Anyway, but yeah, I have not had any issues with breaking except for when I'm trying to break it on purpose, which is great. And it's really easy to splice back together when I want to do that too. I have stitches falling off. My cable's a little too short. Yesterday, I split for sleeves and I picked up and did the collar just so I could see how it was fitting. I'm pretty sure the Doppio has a double folded collar, but this one I want to be pretty minimal. And so I only did a single, like I'm not folding it over. And then I bound off with just like a normal bind off and pattern. I decided to try my luck and try and do like a sewn bind off, like a tubular Italian bind off. I forget which. It's not with the setup burrows. And I think I maybe bound off 5 stitches and then it did break when I didn't want it to. And so I was like, okay, there's probably a way around this where you like kind of like felt the yarn a little bit before you sew with it, but I really didn't care enough to do it. And so I was like, you know, I'll just keep it easy. I'll just bind off and pattern, keep it simple. And this has been a really fun project because while I'm really enjoying the Doppio pattern, I love it and how it is done. Like, I kind of feel like my vision for this sweater is just not a particular pattern, but more like inspired by the Tulip and the Doppio. And I feel so okay with just winging it and seeing how it goes. And it feels very like free and creative and like, it's okay. Let's just see. We'll try this. If it's not the same, I can figure it out. It's fine. So I'm feeling not stressed at all about it, and it's really fun. And so I'm following the size 1. I'm really happy with the size of the neckline. It's not too tight, and I will say like the top of the ribbing is flaring out. But that's also an easy fix. I've got a couple options. At the end, after I block it, I can weave in some elastic around the edge, and like it's such big yarn you won't see the elastic, and then that can kind of cinch it in. Or I can find some smooth kind of light colored fingering weight yarn and just kind of do like a crochet reinforcement and just kind of like cinch them in a little bit. That would make it not stretchy at all. So I think I might do the elastic first, but it's nice to know I've got a couple options, and the crochet one is really easy to like edit and modify as you go if it's not working out. So if you get it too loose or too tight, it's just super quick and easy to just kind of pull that out, try again. I like those sorts of modifications. Right, for the yoke. So I'm following the size 1, and one of the things I really like about this pattern is the compound raglan. So you start doing raglans one way with the increases on one side or another or both, and then for the top part here of the raglan, you're increasing, I think, what is it? Let me look. You're increasing for the sleeves more often than you are for the body. And then towards the end, you're increasing more for the body than you are for the sleeves. And what that does is it creates kind of an S shape in the pattern. I don't know if you can see it, but it goes kind of like, and I don't know, it looks really pretty, especially when you're wearing it. Like it fits really nicely and it looks good. And so I did all the increases and rows for the size 1, and then it said to split for sleeves. And it's like, okay, my gauge is probably off somehow. I haven't checked since doing this. I only looked at my gauge when I did a swatch thing, which I immediately ripped out and used for this because I was a little bit nervous about running out of yarn. And so I normally wet block my swatches and like check and be like very careful about that. But with this project, I've just been so, let's see what happens. It's gonna be fine. I'm not expecting this yarn to change a whole lot. Like, we'll see after I wet block it. I have never wet blocked unspun yarn, but I'm not expecting a lot of change. But we will see. So anyway, I'm not quite sure what my gauge is with this. I'm just kind of trying it on and knitting as I go, and I'm very happy with that. And so like it wanted me to like split for sleeves right here. I'm like, that is not anywhere deep enough. So I'm like holding it up, trying to I put it on. I'm trying to like pinch it under the arms to see like where it would land at the underarm and how much room there would be. And like clearly there's not enough fabric here. So I did another repeat of the second part of the raglan, and that's like a 4-row repeat. And so I added 4 rows, tried it on again. I was like, no, I don't think that's gonna work. It's still not enough fabric. And so I did another 4-row repeat, tried it on. It's like, okay, I think that's good. You don't cast on a lot of stitches when you split. And so whatever the circular yoke is gonna be is kind of what it's gonna be. And so I tried it on, and then I split for sleeves, and then I knitted like an inch after the split and tried it on. Oh, so I knitted an inch for the body, and then I did the neckline because I thought that might affect the fit somehow, and it would at least give me an idea of how it's looking and like laying and fitting. So I tried this on at this point, and it's great. I feel so happy with it. So I'm not quite sure. I'll have to like count my stitches to see if I'm like, I might have the stitch count for the size 3 now, something like that. So I started off with the 1, And I think I'm at a size 3 now, just to get like the yoke depth. I'm sure it's because my gauge is off somewhere. But yeah, I'm just really enjoying the laid back as you go process, and I'm gonna start doing decreases. I do need to count my stitches and see how many I have, because I think I want a multiple of 16 to do the scallops. So I want whatever, like at the very end, I want whatever number of stitches I have at the end to be a multiple of 16. So I kind of need to see what the difference is and kind of do a little bit of math to figure out how many stitches to take out. But that's not hard math. And then I'll start, and the sleeves will be easier, because then what I can do is just be like, okay, so this is the number of stitches I have for my sleeve now. How tight do I want it to be at the end? Kind of count how many stitches this is, and just kind of subtract out this much and make it even. So depending on my row gauge, every so many rows, I'll take out 2 stitches, and there we go. I'll be at the right size for that. So that will be really nice, and this is knitting up so fast. It's a really fun project. I am really enjoying this yarn. The pattern is great. If you want a quick win, I recommend this gauge. A 15 stitch gauge is wonderful. It's like you could make a whole sweater like really fast. It's been nice after sock knitting. So yes, I'm enjoying this one a lot. I'm curious to see how it goes. We leave for our Thanksgiving trip in like a week and a half, or just maybe about a week, honestly, at this point. And my goal is to finish this and have it blocked and ready to wear for Thanksgiving. I think that would be really fun. So that's my goal for this one. And kind of at the same time that I started working on this Doppio Tulip sweater, I also cast on another sweater. So I'm wanting to make Nathan a sweater for Christmas. He is very knit worthy, even though he teases me for my knitting. Everything I've made him, he wears a lot. Like last year or the year before, I don't remember, I made him a cardigan, and he wears it all the time. It's like downstairs, because he works in the basement, and so it gets chilly, and he wears it all the time down there. He brings it on family trips, like he's not ashamed to wear it, and I make him socks and he wears them to like get holes, and it's like, and he like takes care of them, and I don't know, he's a very nice recipient of it. And so even though with his words he gives me flack for my knitting, he talks about it very positively to other people, and then he actually really wears my stuff. And so it's like, okay, I'm gonna trust your actions on this one, because they're actually living up to it. Anyway, so he's just kind of funny that way. But I want to give him, my goal with this one is to give him a sweater that he might actually feel comfortable, like maybe wearing to work. Like, I don't know. We'll see if that happens. I don't know. I want him to feel like comfortable and to like feel good in it, not just let it be like a home thing. I want to see if I can make him something that he feels good enough to wear out. And so we'll see. You know, everybody's different. Everyone has their own like clothing preferences, and that's totally fine. I know, like, regardless, he's gonna wear it a lot as long as it fits. But anyway, so I thought I would play it as safe as possible. He likes really plain, boring knits. So like basically stockinette. He doesn't like cables. He doesn't like color work. If it's a very minimal texture, he could be okay with it. But typically he really likes stockinette. Let's see what stockinette options are available. Looking in his closet, he has like at least 3 like quarter zip sweaters. You know where I'm going with this. And so it's like, okay, I know he likes the style of a quarter zip, like the collar and everything. He wants stockinette, so AKA he must like PetiteKnit's zipper sweater. And she has like the man sizes and everything, and she has a heavier weight gauge and a lighter weight gauge. We don't live where we don't have a lot of super cold days, and we spend a lot of time inside, so I thought it would be a lot more practical to make the zipper sweater light man. What an awkward name. But and I was thinking, okay, so it would be really fun. What if I hand dyed some yarn to make for him. He'd look really good in green or blue. But then I remembered like, oh, I have this really beautiful cone of yarn that my parents got me for Christmas a couple years ago. And I've kind of earmarked it in my mind for like a beautiful cable sweater. But like ever since, like I haven't had like the perfect cable sweater jump out at me, so I haven't started it. And I was like, you know, that's a commercial, very evenly dyed yarn. That's probably what I should use for Nathan's sweater because there's enough yardage for it and it's all like a very even color. It doesn't like scream handmade. And so I know I'm gonna like make Nathan other things out of hand-dyed yarn like I have before. Like I know that's gonna happen, but I think for this project, I wanna make it as commercial looking and store-bought as possible. And so I think the commercially dyed cone of yarn is probably the best choice. And like when I was still kind of noodling it over, I asked Nathan's like, so if you were to wear something, would you go for like a dark red or a dark green or blue? Like which of those colors would you tend to be drawn toward? And he said either a dark red or the dark blue. Like he's not a big fan of green, which I think is weird because he looks good in green, but I'm gonna make him something green at some point to prove it. But for this case, I was like, okay, I think the stars are aligning for this cone of red yarn to become a zipper sweater. So I swatched for it. I didn't hit gauge right away. And the yarn I'm using is Holst Supersoft. And it comes in a 500 gram cone and the color is Bokhara. I think it's focused, but it's so pretty. I really like this color. It's a very kind of like deep, kind of moody red, and it's very nice. So I've been I know you can knit like straight off the cone, but I don't know, it's kind of cumbersome to pull around. And so even though part of the benefit of having the cone is that you don't have to weave in a lot of ends, I don't really mind weaving in ends all that much. And it's so much easier for me to carry around in like cake forms. So I've just been winding off cakes. Sorry. But anyway, so I started that, I swatched, I had to go up a needle size to get gauge because holding it double is still kind of a lighter weight than probably her recommended yarn. It's a DK weight pattern and the Holst Supersoft is like it ends up being like a light fingering. This is my first time knitting with it, so I was really curious to kind of block the swatch like fully and kind of see how the yarn changed after being washed. And it did poof. And so like, that's cool. It's like more dramatic than other yarn, but not magic either. So it's like, don't expect huge change, but it does change. I started, like once I figured out like, okay, I'm gonna do this needle size to get gauge, then I had to figure out which size to start knitting, and that caused me a lot of angst. I could not for the life of me. It took me probably like 3 days of thinking about it to kind of like land on a size, because I believe the recommended, like I measured him and the suggested size from PetiteKnit was I think the size medium, and Nathan wears a size medium t-shirt. Like pretty much everything he buys from a store is size medium. So like that's normal. However, like I was measuring his existing sweaters and like he has like 3/4 zips. So it's like, okay, I know what I'm trying to copy. And according to like the existing measurements of the sweaters I know he already wears, he should make the size extra small. And I was looking at the kind of measurements and suggested ease for the pattern, and I'm like, that seems really big. Is that gonna be a problem? So I'm like looking through so many like projects that other people have made trying to find some with feedback and notes on sizing, and a number of them said that it was more oversized than they wanted, so they went down a size. And then but a lot of other ones also just made the recommended size and it still looked good. And so I'm like, is that because it's the yarn? So is me having like a lighter weight yarn better for more oversize or less oversize? I'm not sure. Or if I had a thicker yarn, would that be better for more oversized or less oversized? I don't know. And so I was really umming and ahhing. And so then like I actually bought the pattern and kind of read through it, and the extra small and the small. So anyway, based on like circumference, I felt pretty confident about going down at least one size. And so, okay. But then I was like, well, but based on measurements against his existing sweaters, I should make the size extra small. And so I was like, I was really on the fence between the extra small and the small. So I was like, okay, well, let me read through the pattern and see like when in the process I have to make a decision. And thankfully, the entire yoke is the exact same for the extra small and the small until you get to like the very bottom. And then the small has like a couple extra increases. And like, that's it. And then like you cast on for the underarm, like different amounts of stitches, but that's like, you can do a lot of knitting before you have to decide. And so that was really comforting and nice. So I was like, okay, I'm just gonna cast on for the size small, extra small, follow the same instructions for both, and make the decision later. And so I did. And so I knit basically the whole yoke. And I did the collar, and it was not bad. Like, I think people have mixed opinions about the collar. I did it exactly to pattern. I didn't shorten it. I think he looks good in a collar, and I don't think it's too big. That you cast on with the Judy's Magic cast on, which I was a little bit curious about because I've always done it for socks, but not anything else really. But it worked out really well. I had no problems with it, and it was fine. So I think I noticed a bit of growing out, but it's not terrible. The stitches look a little bit wonky, but I think it's still passable. I knit the yoke until the point where you have to decide on a size and then split for sleeves. And so my plan was, okay, so I will decide for now on the extra small. I will split for sleeves, do like an inch or so of the body and an inch or so of one sleeve, wash it, block it, do the full thing to see how it actually lies and fits. And then I'll lay it on top of his existing sweaters and kind of see if it works. And I was a bit, like it kind of worked. Like it worked, but when I laid it on top and it matched, but it kind of felt like only if I tugged on it and kind of pulled on it. And so I didn't feel confident about it actually matching, because sometimes, like I've knit a sweater before where I overcompensated and knit the yoke too long, and it was really awkward. And then I've also knit it where it seems right, and I split for sleeves and keep going, but then it's like way too short. And so I just like, I am never going to answer this question unless I actually try it on him. Okay. So yesterday it was dry and I was like, okay, I'm going to blindfold you. Put your arms up. So I tried it on him and it fit really well. I couldn't believe it. I was so like surprised and happy, like especially like after trying this on and then having another win, getting this to fit. I was like, this is so rare. Like, when do you get things like two good things working like back to back? It was a good day for knitting yesterday. So now I feel confident. Like it's not too high, it's not too deep, it's comfortable. Like it's doing like this kind of fold a little bit. It's not big. It's like maybe that much fold like in the underarm. And I feel like that's okay because I don't want it to be tight and it's not a fold in a weird place. And so it kind of makes sense. And it is a somewhat lighter DK fabric. And so I think it will drape. Anyway, I'm gonna keep going. I am technically now making the size extra small, even though he was supposed to be medium, which is kind of strange. He will get, I think, about 6 inches of positive ease, even with the size extra small. Or maybe it's more, anyway, I will measure it. I think it'll be somewhere around maybe 5 or so inches. I think. I'll find out. It fits, and I'm very happy about it working. And so now I feel really confident to just kind of keep moving forward. And all that's left at this point is body and sleeves. And I know it's a lot of fabric and a lot of knitting, but it's also really easy. And so I was like, okay, once I get into like the mode for like easy stockinette knitting, that can go pretty quick. I'm hoping. I'm totally gonna eat these words because that's a lot of knitting. It's probably gonna take a while. That's okay. I am not worried about it happening before Christmas because it's still November. I have a month and a half, and I usually knit fairly quick, so it should be okay. But yeah, so that's the zipper sweater. And right now at this point, I'm really just debating on whether to take it on our Thanksgiving trip, because on the one hand, it's great knitting to knit around people because you don't have to think, it's mindless, and you can get a lot done because you're in like, you don't have a lot of options. You can't choose between like, oh, but this knit is more fun and engaging. It's like you can kind of make yourself stuck with a particular project and force yourself to make a lot of progress on it. So that would be a good environment for that. But Nathan would also see it. And so it's like, okay, how much of a surprise do I want this to be versus how much do I want to get done on it over Thanksgiving? I'm not sure yet. Another option for Thanksgiving knitting is I really want to make a sweater number 18 by My Favorite Things Knitwear, and I have had yarn in stash for this for at least 2 years, like with this project in mind. And I feel like now is the time. I feel like this is the time. Is it the time? I don't know. So I'm a bit on the fence about it. And there's also another sweater. I think, is it the Inga? It's a colorwork sweater by Laynette. She did it for a recent like Issachar Archives collection type thing. Anyway, I have yarn dyed and ready for that sweater. And I feel like that's a very nice Christmassy vibe with the colors I chose. So I'm really torn between working on the zipper sweater and casting on either the sweater number 18 or the Inga sweater, because the color of sweater number 18 is very Thanksgiving. It's like a really beautiful dark ochre yellow kind of a thing, and I feel like that is so fall. Or I could bring a pair of socks, or I could make this a pair of socks. Anyway, I'm having a very wonderful problem and I'm happy about it. So I'll just kind of feel it out and kind of see where things go for knitting, but I'm excited to tell you about it. So yeah, anyway, I hope you are having a wonderful entry into the holiday season. I hope you have a beautiful fall wherever you are. We've had a lot of really nice color changing leaves the last couple weeks down in the valley, like not up in the mountains. And so it's just been such a joy to drive around and see everything. And we've had a warmer fall, and so like we still get the leaves changing color, but it's not frigid and it's gorgeous to be outside. So this is one of the best falls I can remember. Like it's just beautiful. Definitely top 2. And so that's really nice. So I hope you're having a great fall and enjoying all the fall flavors. We have so many good fall flavors. So I hope you're loving that. Yeah, I hope you're enjoying your knitting. I hope you're able to get some rest and some peace and enter the rest of your day in a calmer mood and with some sparkle. Anyway, I will see you later and happy knitting.